I received a message from a viewer last week that really got me thinking about the need for a video that could possibly be about something that most of us know, but maybe a lot of us don't, and it could be causing us to miss out on some of the best features of our Line 6 Helix. As we all know, the Helix is a very powerful processor. We can accomplish many wonderful things with it, but we do have to have a little bit of know-how. Now, the particular situation I'm talking about is I got a message from somebody who was using a fair number of my presets, and they said, the only thing I can't figure out is they kind of all sound the same. Like there's little differences, but they're really not very flexible, and there's not that many sounds here. And it left me scratching my head wondering what is going on. The presets in question are actually quite diverse in different tones, lots of possibilities, lots of effects, lots of different snapshots with different ranges of gain. And I really couldn't figure it out. And then I thought, I wonder if this particular user just happened to not be using the full functionality of the Helix, meaning, is he accessing the snapshots? Does he know how to access the effects that are part of this preset? And I thought this could be a potentially big problem for somebody who gets a preset that otherwise has a lot of potential and a lot of ability to cover a vast array of tones, but they're unable to actually access those things simply because they don't know how to. So I figured I'm going to do this video showing the different modes we can use for the Helix that can really unlock the power in it. Now, this may be more of a beginner video, but I think it's one that's going to be important for those who are just starting out with the Helix and maybe don't know how to navigate it. And we were all there at one point, myself included, when I first got my Helix. I had to go through and figure out how to do these things. And then we can learn the best way to use it for our particular situation. Today, we're going to be going down to the floor with the Helix floor and diving in not only to the global menus and all the settings we can have in there as far as layouts, but also the different modes that we can use to get the most out of our Helix and make sure we're maximizing its potential and not potentially using it incorrectly. So let's go down and figure all of this out. So here we are over at the Helix floor. So this is kind of the default settings that some folks will have when they first fire up their Helix and they have some presets loaded up. You'll notice that I have the names of different presets along the bottom and top row of switches. I have a couple switches that say bank, a couple switches on the other side that say preset, stomp, and tap, tempo, or hold for tuner. So from here, we could simply choose different presets. Pretty simple. So if one was to simply use their Helix in this fashion, they could potentially be missing out on a lot of different things that could really open the doors to a much more powerful usage experience. So first of all, let's go over to global settings. If we navigate over to the foot switches menu in the global settings, which I'm already on, we would do that with our joystick. We notice that the second and third selections are preset mode switches and stomp mode switches. Now, preset mode switches, I believe by default is set to these 8 presets. But if we toggle through it, and I hope this is coming through okay on the camera, and I hope you can read the screen. If not, I will explain as I go along. But it's set to 8 presets right now. If I go through this, we end up in something called preset stomp mode. So the Helix basically has 3 modes. We can use it in preset mode, we can use it in Stompbox mode, or we can use it in snapshot mode. Now, I've done videos about all these various different things. I've done videos about the global settings, but I really want to focus on these 3 different modes, what they are, what they can do, and how we can utilize them. So if we simply just had one preset that was one tone for one song, and we used that through the entire song, we could just set on preset mode and flip through our presets as we were playing our gig or if we were in the studio. But I think that there's a much more powerful way to use the Helix in the way that I usually set up my presets and the way that I usually utilize it, and that's very much within snapshots. So a preset containing snapshots maybe ranging from clean to a pushed edge of breakup tone to a more overdriven sound to a lead tone, and then the ability to add different effects in. So the ability to add different effects in as we want to would be called Stompbox mode, where we can assign different stomp boxes or FX blocks to particular foot switches. And then we have the ability to switch through our snapshots and either have certain effects engaged within the snapshot or be able to switch quickly and effortlessly over to Stompbox mode, where we can access more of a pedal board format like a traditional pedal board would be. So how do we do these things? Well, as we were just talking about, we can make this selection in global settings. So now I have the ability with preset Stomp to select between 4 presets along the top row and 4 different stomp boxes that I can assign along the bottom. I have tremolo, transistor tape, a room verb, and a hall verb. Now that just so happens to be how this preset is set up, but we could assign those in any way that we want. If we keep moving through the global setting of preset mode switches, we have others. We have a different situation where we just invert those, where we have the 4 presets along the bottom and we have the stomp boxes across the top. We have a situation where we could have the 4 presets along the top and 4 snapshots along the bottom. The possibility of inverting that so that we have the 4 snapshots along the top and 4 presets along the bottom. We have the ability to have 4 snapshots along the top and 4 stomp boxes across the bottom. Or the reverse of that, where we have the 4 stomp boxes across the top and 4 snapshots along the bottom. And then we have the final setting, which is just 8 snapshots. So we would have to decide what works best for us. For myself personally, I always keep it on 8 snapshot mode. And I'll explain why as we go through this video. Now, if we just do go back to the original setting, which is 8 presets. We see that we have our 8 presets. Well, we can do other things here though. By going up to the top right foot switch that says Preset Stomp and pressing that, you'll notice that we are now switched to Stomp Box mode. So now all of our Stomp Boxes are up there. We have 10 switches that can display our Stomp Boxes. Now, the next global setting you'll notice right here says 10 switches. It's stomp mode switches. I keep this setting at 10 because I like to have the 2 extra switches. But if I switch this to 8, you'll notice right here on the left that we get back to being able to bank up and down. And select different presets before we head right back to Stomp Box mode. I don't really keep it here because I don't usually use it in that way, but the fact that we have that ability is very powerful. Let's switch that back to 10 switches. And how I usually utilize this is I'll control my presets from this page if I'm using it in this manner, which I don't usually do, as I mentioned. But there's another neat possibility here. With our 2 bank switches, if we press those simultaneously, you will see now that I have the temporary ability to select a snapshot. When I do, I go back to my preset menu so I can now select another preset. So if I wanted to get snapshots going from here, I just simply press those 2 bank buttons and it takes me temporarily into snapshot mode. And as mentioned before, I can always switch to Stomp Box mode easily. Now, what happens if we hold the 2 bank buttons down? You'll notice that now it says preset instead of bank. And by pressing these buttons, we can simply scroll up or down through our preset. So very handy. Now, if we press the 2 preset buttons and hold them again, gives us the ability to scroll through snapshots. You'll notice up in the corner, it switches from 1 to 2 to 3 in the different snapshots that we have. So it's really going to be up to us to decide how we want to work with this. But I think the important point is knowing that it's actually there and how to access all of this. And we can still access our Stomp Boxes. Heading back to global settings though, the way that I like to use this is as such. I am going to set preset mode switches to 8 snapshots. And I'll always have those open. I really like this layout because I utilize snapshots a lot. And pretty much all of my presets are set up to utilize multiple snapshots. As you can see, it says clean, push, push to lead. Certain presets will be clean, push, and the push being the edge of breakup tone. The third snapshot, depending on the amp, will usually be called overdrive if it's a higher gain amp. And then there's a lead setting. So I have those 4. And whenever I play live, that's really all I need in combination with the ability to switch some effects on and off to utilize the Helix in the optimal way that I like to use it. So I really like this setting. But at the same time, what I will have on the far left side is I will either have these set to bank or preset so that I can quickly access whatever preset I want, and you'll notice it pops right back to snapshot mode. And the beautiful part about this is I can still use the top right-hand button to get myself into Stompbox mode and stay there. Access any of the effects, and any of my Line 6 Marketplace Ultimate presets will always come with a full array of effects blocks like this. So if I need to switch snapshots, I simply just hit my top right-hand corner button again. I could switch snapshots effortlessly and be right back into Stomp mode. So that's really how I enjoy using the Helix, but by no means am I suggesting that that's the only way or that's the only correct way. It's just the way that works for me. And you will have to figure out what the best method for you is depending on how you set your presets up and your use cases. But it did dawn on me after receiving this question from a viewer that maybe there are a lot of folks that don't even realize these modes exist, and I think it's an extremely important thing to know to get the most out of our Helix. Now, there is one more absolutely incredible feature that we have, and if we go up to our top right switch that says Preset Stomp, notice underneath it says hold to edit. So if I hold this switch down, you'll notice that I get a bunch of flashing buttons and it's showing me all the different blocks that are within my preset. So let's say that I want to play my guitar and adjust parameters on the fly. This can be an extremely powerful feature. Let's say that I want to go into my bubble vibrato and tweak the parameters while I was playing. So I'm not using my hands to tweak those parameters, but rather using my feet. So I could hit bubble vibrato. You'll notice that the parameters now all show up on screen. It has speed of an eighth note, and that's the one that is on right now or selected. But let's say I want to change the depth. I could use my foot, in this case my hand. I could hit depth, then I can use my expression pedal to adjust that parameter from the setting it's at right now, which is 7. So if I was playing, using my foot to adjust that parameter, now I might say, you know what, 6 is a better setting. If you notice in the bottom right-hand corner, it says exit. Hold to save and exit. I press that, and now when I come back to my bubble vibrato, it will be at the setting that I set it at. Now we can do this with any parameter of any of these blocks in here. I could go to my low and high shelf EQ. Select which parameter I want to change, and utilize my expression pedal to change those parameters. So there you have it. I hope that that was useful. It's not a video I really ever thought about doing. I think sometimes we all, and myself especially, can just take for granted that, well, people will know how to do this. And, you know, they'll get a preset, they'll load it in, and they'll just go into the snapshots, and the snapshots are there. But somebody who's just got their Helix, this could all be extremely foreign to them, and they won't understand that there's snapshot mode, and there's Stompbox mode, and there's pedal edit mode, and there's preset mode. And I think it would be a real shame for a Helix user to not understand that those are there, because we are actually not being able to use it to its fullest ability and in a manner that might be extremely useful to us. And I've even had people send me messages where they've told me, maybe not for this particular case, but they said, I was about to sell my Helix, but I watched your video about snapshots. Didn't know that was in there, but it gave me everything I wanted and I kept my Helix. I've never been happier. And I've had countless messages, well into the hundreds, if not more, like this, where folks just didn't realize a certain feature was there. So I know for a lot of folks who are seasoned Helix users, this might seem like a bit of a joke video because, you know, we could assume that everybody knows this. But I can, in fact, tell you that not everybody knows this. And there's no shame in that. The Helix is a complex unit and we need to spend some time getting familiar with it. But once we do and we figure out what features are in there, it can be an extremely powerful processor. So I hope that you guys found that useful. Please like the video. Please share it with anybody who you think would get some use or just even enjoyment out of watching it. And also please subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I will be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys so much again for sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.